Welcome to solverfy.
Okay, so this question is essentially asking us to do two things. The first is it's asking us to define what a polyamide is. And I've already typed out the definition just to save a little bit of time, but a polyamide is basically a long hydrocarbon chain that contains repeated amide groups. So it's kind of in the name here. So you have poly, which means many amides, essentially. An amide is another name for a peptide linkage or a peptide bond, and it results from the joining of an amine group from one amino acid and the carboxylic acid group of another. So the polyamide is essentially a specific name for a subtype of amino acid chains. The second thing this question is asking us to do is rank the fiber strength or bond strength of a polyhydrocarbon, a polyester, and a polyamide of equal lengths. So when you're looking at bond strength, you want to look at the functional group of each of these substances. So first, let's look at the polyhydrocarbon. We know that a polyhydrocarbon, which is essentially a repeating chain of hydrocarbons, which are units of carbon and hydrogen, is going to be non-polar. And that right there tells us that we're not going to have very strong bonds between the carbons and hydrogens, so we're mainly just going to be looking at London dispersion forces, or LDFs. The second is a polyester. Polyesters are polar because the ester groups are, and in case you don't know, the base formula for an ester group is some R group bonded to a carbon, which is bound to two oxygens, and then we have a second functional group there. So we have some polarity between the carbon and the oxygen. And that right there means that a polyester is going to be slightly more, or it's going to be slightly stronger than a polyhydrocarbon. And then last, we have the polyamide, which contains the functional amide group. Go ahead and draw it out. There. Which not only has polarity, but also has a really strong hydrogen bond, which is going to make it the most polar. So in order from greatest to least, we have the polyamide, which is the first or strongest. And then we have the polyester, which is polar but doesn't have those hydrogen bonds. And then we have the hydrocarbon, which is the third or weakest. So then you can essentially arrange the bonds like that.